We're live and we're recording.
All right, we ready?
Okay, we are live.
Okay. Good evening, folks. Sorry we're a couple of minutes late, but we were out clapping for our first responders and medical workers at 7 o'clock. So we apologize that we're a couple of minutes late, but welcome to our second meeting of April and our second virtual meeting. And I guess we'll get going.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach, held Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Delory.
Present.
Councilmember Mandel. Councilmember Treston.
Present.
Vice President McGinnis.
Present.
President Bendo.
Present.
Let the record, let the record indicate the presence of City Manager Donna Gaydon and Acting Corporation Counsel Rich Berrios. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
Councilman Delory, since you got the flag in the background, please lead us.
Hands over heart. I pledge allegiance
The flag
of the United States of
America,
and to the
to the
Republic,
which is
which stands one nation, under God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, welcome. And I guess we'll start with our city manager's report.
Good evening, everyone. The first thing I want to say is thank you all for the hard work that you helped us with the budget and that the budget is now online. And what I want to let the public know that this year, the budget was done just a little bit different. In the past, it's always been the city manager's budget. But this year with the new council and then with myself and the comptroller's office, we worked individually with the council members to go over the budget. And so that we would all be on the same page with what's going on with us right now, with the deficits that we have and that what we're looking for in the future. Everyone knows that there were layoffs, I'm sure by now. Originally, we had about 143 people that were laid off that were part-time for a savings of about $500,000. We also, for this budget, will be laying off, it's approximately about 24 people for a savings of about $1.5 million without benefits. So that's about a $2 million savings that's going into the budget. The budget was done very realistically, meaning that we took a very conservative approach in looking at the revenue. We took a conservative approach looking at the expenditures, and the goal is to start building the city back, the fund balance back to a positive fund balance, because it is now currently in a negative and it has been decreasing every year. And so again, I just want to say thank you. Many believe that the budget was really done all by the city manager and all the layoffs were all done by the city manager. And I want people to know that the layoffs in turn were dealt with the City Corporation Council, the Civil Service, and the CSE union. And despite what some people may think, the layoffs were done by title, not by person. And so we only had the title of the job, and we went through it and they looked through seniority, and nothing was done to one particular person because no one knew, especially me, who the people were. And as we shared the information to the council, that was also shared by title only. And then we went through everything, and went through all the cuts that we had so that everybody would be on the same page. And unfortunately, we had to come to a point where we would have to lay off because the city could no longer fund or could no longer pay for everything that we needed to pay without having extensive borrowing or raising property tax to double-digit figures. And nobody wanted to see that. That's all I have because it's all been budget for the last 2 weeks. And so again, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And there'll be a budget hearing with a more detailed presentation on the budget at the first meeting in May, which is May 5th, Tuesday, May 5th. So it'll be a presentation explaining the budget, go into much more detail, and the public will get to provide input. So with that, I guess I'll do a little update on some COVID-19 statistics and some information. Basically, at the state level, the governor has ordered that the schools and non-essential businesses are now going to stay closed through May 15th. So we're getting pushed out a little further, obviously getting closer to Memorial Day. The governor has also issued 2 new executive orders that require all people in New York to wear masks or face coverings in public, including when taking public or private transportation or riding in for-hire vehicles like taxis or Uber or anything like that. So, masks or face coverings are now required. Regarding starting to reopen things, the governor has made it clear that they're going to be taking a regional approach to reopening things. They're doing it in conjunction with the neighboring states, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, some of the others, because if one state does something, we don't want to drive people into the other states, which of course, I guess I was going to maybe bring it up later, but this probably be a good time. I know people are probably wondering about what's going on with the beach. And the simple fact is we don't know yet, because it's really the state that is going to be ultimately kind of ruling here on what goes on, because like I said, they're mandating a regional approach. We are preparing as if the beach will open normally. So should that happen, we will be ready, but the simple fact is we just don't know yet, but we are preparing for the best. As far as the county level, as of yesterday, there were 31,079 positive COVID-19 cases in the county, and 1,390 deaths, unfortunately. Specific to Long Beach, we've had 551 positives in Long Beach. Quite frankly, the only community on the South Shore in Nassau County that has more positives than Long Beach is Freeport. We far exceed other South Shore communities in the number of positive cases. Additionally, if you've perhaps seen the article, nursing homes are now being raised as hotbeds for this awful pandemic. And a nursing home in Long Beach has had 22 deaths in one nursing home. That is the highest of any nursing home in Nassau County here in Long Beach. So when people are asking, why is the boardwalk still closed and things like that, that's the reason why. This is about people's lives now. And, well, not now, it has been, but this is about people's lives. So I get the people that, you know, I get emails, we all get emails from people. I had one person complaining about the boardwalk being closed because it was bad on their knees when they were jogging to run in the street or the sidewalk. I don't even know how to address a comment like that, because quite frankly, people's lives are at stake. And we all have to be thinking about the greater good right now, and thinking about more than ourselves, but our family, our neighbors, and our fellow residents. And the simple fact is, the sooner we beat this thing down, the faster we can get back to normal. And I've said this before, it's, you can hunker down now, or you can hunker down in July and August. Let's do it now so we can get our summer. So with that, I'll come down off my soapbox, and I guess we can move on with the meeting.
Okay. Item number 1 has been taken off the calendar. Item number 2 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for masonry work at various locations throughout the city of Long Beach on an as-needed basis with the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay, is Commissioner Miranda on?
No, Joe is.
Or Mr. Fabrizio? We'll take him too.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's safe and healthy. Yes, the requirements contract, the low bidder was Castle Industries in the amount of $211,000. We use this requirements contract to do masonry work all around the city at various locations. It's generally work that our city street maintenance department is too big for, or they're too busy to do. They generally do an outstanding job. But just for an example, like I don't know if you're familiar with the Bank of America parking lot between Riverside and Edwards. Like, we just paved that through our asphalt overlay contractor. Well, the sidewalks and curbs in that mall are really bad as well. Now, that's a pretty big job for our guys. So this is the type of work we would give to Castle Industries under this contract. And there's funding available in the capital plan for this work, for this contract.
All right. Any questions from the council members? I just have one question for you, Joe. How do these prices for this contract compare to what we've paid up to this point?
I mean, they're fairly reasonable. I mean, they're actually, I don't have the last year's in front of me, unfortunately, but I mean, those prices are definitely reasonable.
Okay.
And Castle Industries has worked with us before, and they do an outstanding job.
Okay. Thank you. We didn't get any questions from the public on this item, so I guess we can move on.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to amend the current contract for asphalt overlay work at various locations throughout the city on an as-needed basis.
All right. I guess, Joe, you're up again.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, this is, we have an annual contract so we can perform overlays throughout the city. The current contract that has that contract is Roadwork Ahead. I don't know if you've noticed throughout town, but they've been doing a lot of work all over. We just, for example, did the 2 parking lots. Again, one opposite Bank of America, one opposite Billy's Beach Cafe between Magnolia and Laurelton. And I think hopefully everybody's really happy with that. So this money is to basically take money from some other miscellaneous parking lot lines that's in the capital plan, kind of combining them basically into one line for our asphalt overlay contractor. And John, you'll appreciate we're going to do the work on Heron Street. We've been dealing with Dr. Eisman. That's one of the proposed projects we're going to do with this is overlay that street end where there's been chronic flooding. So I implore you to vote for it. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the council? And I think Councilman Delory's got a question.
Sure.
Mr. Fabrizio, it was a great job on the parking lots opposite that City G and Billy's Beach Cafe. And one question I have is, when these parking lots are overlaid, does the same company do the striping as well?
Actually, it's a subcontractor that's retained by the general contractor that does the striping in this case.
And is
So
that,
in other words, he hired a contractor as a sub, and we paid him to do it under the overlay contract.
under the overlay? Would that contractor be the same one who would do other type of parking striping in, let's say, boulevards or anything like that?
In this case, striping isn't incorporated in the asphalt overlay contract, so it would be up to the general contractor who he wants to use.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Joe.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, we can move on.
Okay, item 4 is a resolution authorizing settlement for certiorari proceedings for 640 West Broadway. And I will unmute Mr. Flammer, who is on the phone.
Hi, good evening, Council. This is a tax certiorari settlement between the city and the Beach Terrace Care Center, which is a 182-bed nursing home on 640 West Broadway. It settles 6 years, 2014 through 19, with a 3-year moratorium until 2022. That means they can't file grievances for 3 years. During negotiations, we came to a stalemate. I outsourced for a independent appraisal, which supported our settlement. It's a reduction in AV from 215 to 164, which equates to a market value of 6.5 million to 5 million, and a lump sum refund of $50,000. There are no interest on the refund. Any questions?
Ray, could you just real quick, because I know I had this question, that the assessment isn't necessarily based on just square footage. There's a couple other factors that are taken into account. Could you just briefly explain that?
Okay, nursing homes are a little specialty of commercial properties, which are based on the income approach. Nursing homes are based on their reimbursement for Medicare and Medicaid costs that are capitalized to derive an income approach valuation. That's, commercial properties value income. Residential properties are based on market sales. So that's why there's always a difference between what something would sell for and what they're valued. And nursing homes would be valued in use. It's not based on what it could sell for at highest and best use. It's based on the value and how it's used. That's per New York State law.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council? Okay, we did get one question from the public on this regarding the tax refund of $50,000. How many tax years does this include? So I think you answered that, Ray, but it's fiscal 14-15 through 19-20, correct?
That is correct. Plus
Okay,
a
so that would be
3-year moratorium.
Right, so that'd be 6 years.
Yeah.
All right. And I guess that's it. So next item.
Okay, 1 second. Okay. And finally, item number 5 is a resolution authorizing publication of the general summary of the capital improvement program for the next 5 years and authorizing publication of the general summary of the proposed budget for year July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, and notice of public hearings thereon. This item is for publication only. Hearings will be held May 5th and May 19th at 7 p.m. On to the voting portion. Item 2 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for masonry work at various locations throughout the city of Long Beach on an as-needed basis with the lowest responsible bidder. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second? Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Karen?
Karen, I think you're still muted.
You muted, Karen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to amend the current contract for asphalt overlay work at various locations throughout the city on an as-needed basis. Who will introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Who will second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing settlement of certiorari proceedings for 640 West Broadway. Who will introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
And finally, item 5 is a resolution authorizing publication of the general summary of the capital improvement program for the next 5 years and authorizing publication of the general summary of the proposed budget for year July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, and notice of public hearings thereon. Who will introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Make a motion to close the meeting.
I will.
I'm sorry, who was that?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Thank you. Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes. Okay, I guess on to good and welfare. We got some questions for that. Matthew Tina asked, what's the latest updates for the Super Block project? Engel Berman is the developer for that. They've sought and received something called a preliminary inducement resolution from the Nassau County IDA. What that essentially means is that all it does is it begins negotiations between the IDA and the developer about any potential tax abatements or exemptions that they're looking for on the project. If you went to any of the public meetings they held around the city, they were floating the figure $52 million is what they were looking for. But I guess they'll be in the negotiating phase now with the IDA about that. The city has reached out to the IDA just to make sure that they do hold public hearings here in Long Beach, and that no vote will take place on the project until the pandemic subsides, because they need to have a public hearing here in Long Beach. As of now, the project is what's called as of right, which means they do not require any zoning variances. So it's not expected that they'll be going in front of the Long Beach Zoning Board for any approvals, because they'll be doing it in accordance with the current zoning code. So right now we're kind of in a wait and see, where we're tracking to see what goes on between the IDA and Engel Berman, and we'll keep you appraised of that. We're also probably going to be asking the developer, even though, like I said, they did a number of presentations at civic association meetings and places around town, we're probably going to ask them to come back again at a city council meeting to do a presentation there as well, just in case anybody missed it. So we'll keep you up to date on that. Same person asked, are discussions continuing with new COVID-19 requirements? Yes. I mean, obviously we have our OEM, our Office of Emergency Management, been activated and manned, so we're continuously monitoring the situation. We're in contact with the county, the state, and all the other appropriate agencies, and adjusting as needed. We're, as needed, putting in requests with the county OEM for personal protective equipment for our first responders. So it's been a fair amount of activity, tracking the activities. As I said earlier, though, the governor has made it pretty clear that any easing of social distancing or opening up of any facilities is going to be a regionally coordinated effort. So we're not going to be doing this by ourselves. So we're kind of, operating under that right now. So we continue to monitor and hope for the best. Next, Lou DeBow. Can the city paint designated bike lanes along Broadway again, and have the street sweeper sweep as well, and take care of some potholes and rough areas in the road? So the police department did go out today and inspected the bike lanes earlier, and they came back and said they do need to be repainted. So that's gonna be done this spring. The street sweeper is out daily, so we'll talk to the Department of Public Works to make sure Broadway is getting done. The pothole repairs, that's just a continuous kind of ongoing process. So they're ongoing. A more comprehensive repavement is not scheduled this year right now for that section of road, but the potholes are being addressed. And Lou also asked, can Can the city contact the town of Hempstead and have them do the same things on Lido Boulevard? Yep, we'll reach out to the town and the county and see if that's something they can do. Susan Moran asked about addressing the Governor Cuomo's mandated laws on wearing masks. He's mentioning that a local food establishment is still preparing food and interacting with customers without masks. And some customers were not wearing masks either. So basically, we contacted that restaurant today, and they were spoken to, and hopefully they now see the error of their ways and will do better. Heather Licata was asking about companies that are using leaf blowers. That okay, that they're disturbing people, and are they banned? So quite frankly, this is the first time we're hearing of this issue. We're going to look into that. We'll find out what other communities are doing, and if they, we'll see if there's steps we need to take or should be taking. So we will look into that. Heather also asked about, I guess, the contractors parking on the wrong side of the street in the canals, that it's creating some traffic parking issues, you know, people being able to get by and stuff like that. So we've informed the police department of that, and they will be checking. And if you are witnessing that, obviously the police aren't everywhere at once. So if you are witnessing a situation like that, just please call the police emergency, non-emergency number, which is 516-431-1800. Again, that's 431-1800. And they can send someone over there to rectify the situation. Marion Adams is asking about beach passes. Last year they went on sale in May and wants to know how much beach revenue was collected in May of 2019 and June of 2019. It was, for the 2 months, it was about $2 million, just slightly over $2 million. She's also asking, if the boardwalk reopens, how will enforcement of social distancing work? That's really going to depend on what guidance we get from the state and county. The boardwalk is being patrolled right now. I imagine it would continue, but again, depending on the guidance, the social distancing guidance. Obviously, it's a challenge. I mean, anybody that was up there just before we closed it kind of realizes why we closed it. It was packed up there, and social distancing was not going so well. So like I said, we'll be monitoring, taking guidance from the state and the county, but keep in mind, you know, this is also about not putting our law enforcement personnel into dangerous situations either, and having to deal with large crowds right now. Robert Zeminski was asking a question about item 1 about the deficiency notes, which was removed from the agenda. So we'll address that at the meeting when that takes place. And let's see. And he's also asking about the Office of the State Comptroller, the corrective action plan for the audits that the State Comptroller did. What's going on with those? So the city's been in communication with the State Comptroller's office. Obviously, things are in a little bit of flux right now, given everybody's working remotely. So we have been communicating with them. They are being worked on, and they're going to be submitted soon. Cindy Juncker. Oh, hi, Cindy. Can you advise if the STOP, which is the Stop Throwing Out Pollutants program, that had been scheduled for this past Sunday will be rescheduled for a later date? Yeah, we're working with the town of Hempstead. They've agreed to reschedule it. We just don't have that new date yet. So as soon as we know that, we'll let you know. Robin Donovan wants to know, what steps are you taking to recover the overpayments of $500,000 to 10 current and former employees from the 2017-18 fiscal year based on Tom DiNapoli's office. So right now there is a outside law firm conducting a very detailed, vigorous investigation. They're in close contact with the appropriate authorities. And honestly, beyond that, I really can't comment at this point, but it is being worked on. Michael Janin, can the city about the benches on the boardwalk? Do we know when they'll be repaired? The issue there right now is our Public Works Department is estimating that the materials alone to fix the benches is going to be over $100,000, and they're trying to figure out where that money is going to come from, because right now there isn't a budget line item that has $100,000 in it for this. So that's where we are right now. We're trying to figure out how to pay for it. Let's see. Eileen Hessian is asking, during the last budget, we were told that names would be assigned to positions and salaries so residents would see where raises were given. Is that going to be done for this budget? The budget does include all the titles and the salaries. It doesn't have specific employee names. I'm not sure we can even do that legally. So, but it does have all the titles and the salaries associated with those titles. She also asks, she sees that their positions have been cut. Will those people be rehired? I'm not sure what specific position she's asking about, but generically speaking, these layoffs were a financial cost-cutting measure, so that's not the intention at this time to bring people back. So let's see. And also she's asking, there are raises in the budget, many large raises in the budget. Why are some people getting 10 to 14% raises? I'm not aware. We looked. We're not aware of any large raises in the budget. I mean, there was the contractual raises that the city's obligated to give. Now, what you might be seeing is in the union contracts, there are things called step increases. So at certain years of service with the city, you jump into a higher salary bracket. So what you may be seeing are step increases from people going from one step to another. But other than that, any raises at all in the budget are just the normal annual contractual raises, which we're required to give, nothing beyond that. And with that, that was the last question. So thanks for joining us. And I guess we don't have to say get home safe, but everyone have a good night and take care.
Stay safe. Have a good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.